right, we're ready to continue on with Missouri. We'll ask Coach Gates for some general thoughts on the game. Then we'll take your questions just for the two student athletes, excuse them back to the locker room, and then we'll finish with Coach Gates. So, Coach, would you begin?
Well, I'll say this. I'm absolutely proud of our guys. They've done a tremendous job all season being available to me as a head coach mentally and emotionally, being able to do the exact things every day, not just in games, but every day, showing up to practice, going to class on time, walking around with their shoulders high, chin up, and wearing the Mizzou logo with pride. So I commend our guys, and I also hurt for them. I hurt for them in this journey because ultimately our core values of friendship, love, accountability, trust, discipline, unselfishness, enthusiasm, and toughness was put to test. And our guys always carried those core values close to their heart. They never let it go. In times of obstacles or the ups and downs, they had a decision to make. They never let it go. They never turned on each other. They never did what every single coach in our conference mentioned when we played them. It stood out on film, their pride. It stood out in games. It stood out in every situation, and I'm proud of them for that. And when we talk about developing young people, we talk about together in the huddle. We talk about certain things, and it was put to test this year, and our guys were together, and they have been together. So I'm proud of our guys. Hats off to Georgia. Outstanding game. Great comeback. It was a game of runs. They started the game on a run. We had the middle half of the game on a run, and they ended the game on a run.
All right, we'll take questions for either of the student athletes. If you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll get one of the floor microphones to you. Okay, let's start right on the front and the right.
Yeah, Connor, big night for you coming back from the concussion. Tell me just kind of what went into tonight's performance and why what went into playing well tonight.
Well, we knew it was survive in advance, win or go home. So I was just taking how I did before I got hurt. At Florida. I played a good game, and I felt like that was something I could continue on and carry on. And so I brought that into tonight and just try to fight as much as I could.
Other questions for either? Okay, let's go to the middle aisle, second row.
Nick, not quite the season you wanted here, but is there anything memorable you take away from your time in Columbia?
It's hard to just pick one. Obviously, last year went to the tournament and everything like that, but this year just being with the guys, I mean, we just built such a strong culture. A lot of teams would have quit, as soon as you get to 10 games. A lot of guys just started arguing, talking about next season, spring break and stuff like that. But, my 2 years here in Columbia was memorable. I'm glad I decided to come here. And I can't really just pick, one or two things, but just the overall experience, made me a better player and a better person.
Do you have a question in the middle? Go ahead.
Kind of building off that last point, this can go to Nick and Connor, but, what was it? You mentioned it. A lot of teams would have quit. A lot of teams would have given up. You guys obviously fought to the end. What was it about Coach Gates' approach and the rest of the coaching staff that kept you guys engaged day in, day out and fighting tooth and nail till the end?
Nick, would you go first?
I would say it's just his approach, as a person. He never really, overreacts to anything. He obviously lights a fire under us, tells us to, do our job. But I think we have strong leadership, and during those tough times, you don't panic. It's, contagious to everybody else. So, if your head coach is not giving up on you, your coaching staff's not giving up on you, then there's no reason to give up on yourself. So, he just stayed positive. Sometimes I wonder why he is so calm, but, I'm just thankful that he's always in our corner and, just telling us to always keep our heads high.
Is that the same for Connor?
Yeah, I just say Coach has just been a great role model, and he always preaches about consistency. So just, taking everything one day at a time, we just take it one day at a time, and to cherish each moment. So.
We got time for maybe one more question for either of the student athletes. Let's go to the second row.
For both of you guys, there's a saying in sports, you either win or you learn. There's been a lot of adversity for you guys this season, but what would you say both of you have learned the most about yourselves and kind of grown as people because of this season?
Nick?
What I learned this season, I learned a lot of things. Most importantly, you got to go put your work pants on every day, whether it's a good day or a bad day. And, just be around those who love you. Just focus on that, positive energy and, just show up every day, regardless if things are going bad, good, in between. Just show up every day and give it your best.
Connor?
I think I was able to learn the physical side of basketball. Everybody thinks basketball's, just shoot and score, play a little defense, but, it's a very physical game, for a lot of big men. And I think that's something that I really learned and kind of took to heart this year.
All right, we'll excuse the student athletes. You guys can return to the locker room, and you can exit off to your right. And we'll continue on with questions for Coach Gage. Raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you. Raise your hand. All right, let's start in the second row on the left.
Coach Gates, despite the disappointing season, what are some of the positive things your team did that you can grow on for next year?
Well, it's not disappointing when guys give their effort. I think we kind of look at sports a little often in different columns, but really learn what was taught. I think our guys learned a lot. But for me personally, I believe as a head coach, I've been prepared by my mentor in several ways, and I'm going to be as consistent as I can be to lead a certain way and make sure guys are giving their very best, and our guys did. There's some circumstances that our team has gone through this year. We've had 5 surgeries in season. Every wing player in our program has had a surgery except for Tamar Bates. I would like to see someone else's results if they were put in that same situation. John Tonje, his injury, projected double-figure score. Caleb Grill was playing his best basketball at that moment, right under 9 points a game. Unbelievable leadership. Caleb Brown had an unbelievable summer. Trent Pierce had an unforeseen ear infection, required surgery, was out 10-plus games during that time. And Danny Stevens, another walk-on kid that we had surgery. So we've been disrupted several times. Connor had a concussion. Sean East was out. There's some unforeseen circumstances that don't allow and didn't allow our team to get better how most teams mature and maturate. So it's not disappointing to me when I lead guys. The results isn't what I've wanted, but the journey and the work ethic and the lessons that my guys have learned, I'm absolutely honored to be their coach, and I'm excited about what they were taught.
Other questions for Coach? Raise your hand. Go ahead to the right, front row.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit, but what changed in the second half early on that allowed y'all to take the lead there? And then what changed at the end where Georgia was able to pull back in front?
Well, I think if you look at the ability to knock down threes, they were 12 for 29, right? And there were some rotational errors that we probably allowed them to get that far open, but we still had the lead at the end of the game, the last 2 minutes. The one thing that stands out to me is what allowed us to get the lead. We rebounded well. We closed the possessions. We executed. I think we held the lead all the way throughout the entire second half for the first at least 18 minutes, I believe. We had a costly turnover underneath the basket, and that hurt. But we still had the lead in that situation. We wasn't able to manufacture points in the paint at the end of the game like we were during the first 38 minutes. The other thing was we didn't get to the foul line. We only shot three shots from the foul line, and I think that has something to do with us losing the lead. you know, it's a tough deal for referees. They're not going to be 100% in every game. I just thought our guys fought. Our guys deserved to win, and they didn't.
Other questions? Let's go to center aisle.
Some of the issues with the rotations on defense, was that just the pace that Georgia was running their offense, or
No.
is there anything you can attribute that to?
I think physical fatigue and a combination of the minutes that our guys were required to play, but also the mental fatigue, the emotional fatigue in those moments. We just wasn't able to close it. And we had opportunities. We had several opportunities to do it. It just didn't go our way, whether it was a bounce, layup by Noah Carter at the rim. And that was right there. I'm shocked that didn't go in. But we didn't get to the foul line. We didn't force the whistle. It was a low foul count in the second half for both teams. But I thought there were situations where Connor Vanover was penalized for his height. And the calls didn't take place in the body because eyes were at 7'5", and the body was taken out. So I thought we were penalized in certain situations that, you know, you have to adjust. And we wasn't able to adjust, secure the ball in those situations, and make the baskets.
Have time for a couple more? Let's go to the center right here.
Coach, what went into the decision to keep those 5 out on the floor for most of the second half, very few rotations?
Well, again, Jordan Butler had a severe ankle sprain. That's why he was out the starting lineup and only played 2 minutes. He sprained his ankle, couldn't practice a day ago. So that caused the rotational change. I just thought those guys were playing, and we were playing zone. So the fatigue wasn't there as much, and I didn't want to disrupt the rhythm. And that's where I wanted to go. These guys deserve to be out there and close the game.
Okay, got time for 2 more. Let's take one to the center aisle, and then we'll go right over here.
I was about to say how much, I mean, looking back when you lost, you know, Grill in December, and obviously Tanjay was in and out at the beginning of the season and then had surgery. I mean, how much does that limit you with your rotations when your scoring options are limited like that? And, you know, how did you guys coach around it this year?
Well, no one's going to have pity for us or pity for me. Records does not have an asterisk by it and tell everybody the trials, tribulations of a season. You have to continue to move forward, find solutions. Our staff did that. Our strength and conditioning coach was outstanding. Our trainer, they both, Sean Conity and Chris Perrin, was outstanding during this time. And our doctors have been outstanding. It's just unforeseen things that takes place. And I think several teams are going through it now. It may impact their implications on Selection Sunday, but ours began well before a lot of other people's, and it never stopped. So, you know, for me, I think the ability to have resolve and resilience, give confidence, ask guys to do things they're not accustomed to do, the ability for players to adjust to what I'm asking and learn on the fly different things. We've had to change a lot because of our injuries. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was Caleb Grill's injury. You know, a flagrant foul in the game against Wichita State at home. He went up for a dunk and landed pretty much on his chest, and he braced himself with his hand, and turns out he broke a bone. And at that point, we had great wins against Pitt, who's a NCAA tournament team, at Pitt. We had a great win at Minnesota, who finished in the top half, I believe, of the Big Ten. We beat some teams, but it allowed us to galvanize and be consistent. Once that injury took place, we had to move so many different parts and ask guys to do different things, and we just wasn't able to settle in on the traditional rotations that we started out in June.
Okay, last question on the front row on the right.
Coach,
Coach, just looking ahead, you know, how do you feel about the future of the program and kind of what needs to change for a bounce back to happen next year?
Well, right now, I think it's important to be with our guys now and make sure we debrief properly. Some guys' college careers have ended. I remember my last game like it was yesterday, and it is a experience that will last a lifetime in terms of you know, the mental pool that it has. So I want to be there emotionally for our guys. I want to be there emotionally for the returners and obviously for our staff. Our program hurts right now because we're not who everyone think we are. I think we displayed the amount of character and courage, but also our entire, our entire culture. We displayed that. We've been in several games. It didn't matter who was ranked where. Our guys showed up and competed, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the fact that they allowed me to coach them every single day, and I didn't have to coach effort in practice. I didn't have to coach certain things that other coaches may have had to coach. The record is one thing. I am not excited about our record, but it's more importantly, I'm excited about being able to be there for our players how I need to be as a head coach.
Thank you.
Thank you. MIZ.